Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome along to the SFC interviews here with Miguel Luque today. So, how's things? And of course, it's a very difficult, challenging time for everybody at the moment.
I'm fine, thank you, Mike. We're all good and well. You look fit and well as well. I love the tash; it looks really good on you. I'm in that age bracket where I've had my first jab, and so hopefully we'll get the second one due in June, and then with everything going the way it's going, hopefully we'll get back to normality very, very soon. I hope you're all fit and well as well.
Yeah, doing good, and of course looking forward to having a little bit more freedom as of the start of next week as well.
Yeah, I can't wait, really, to be honest. And it's who would have believed it? It's been over a year. Do you know what I mean? It's mental, absolutely mental. So just be glad to actually go out and actually just watch a game of football being played. It's nice. So yeah, looking forward to it.
It should be great. Of course, I know it'll be a little while until fans and stuff are back in grounds again, but it's certainly an upturn at the moment in sort of even allowing people to do a bit more. It kind of brings everything a little bit closer again, doesn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, and I think it appreciates. I think in a way, I know you appreciate more what you've got a little bit, and you don't take things so much for granted. It has been difficult for a lot of us. Fortunately, I work for myself. I've got my own business as such, and we've been busy. So we've been okay on that side of things. So, but we're fortunate, on that.
And of course, when you signed for Stevenage as well, we'll jump into the interview now or the chat now. So, of course, what were those sort of deciding factors in you coming across and joining Boro? And of course, you came across with your brother as well, didn't you?
Yeah, it's a really funny thing, really. The way it all started, I think it all started with Paul, obviously Paul Fairclough, yeah, right. Yeah. And I remember previously to joining Stevenage, I was playing for Harlow Town, right, and I'd already been, would you believe, with Harlow Town, won 2 promotions with them, been relegated once, right, and I remember playing a game prior to Paul signing on as manager for Stevenage. She was manager of Hertford. Okay.
Right, yeah.
And Harlow played Hertford. We played my best games ever. Seriously. It was just one of them where everything just went right. And we won the game 2-0. And I don't know whether that's sort of stuck in Paul's mind or something. So come the following season, I think Paul was. I'm still with Harlow. Finished with one of the clubs that are in the promoter. I think Aveley went up, and I'm not sure who was the second team that went up, but someone else went up with Aveley. It was top 2. Harlow, I got loaned out to Hertford, who again Paul was manager, and I played 7 games. The last 7 games, and I scored 4 goals. For him.
Okay, that's excellent. That's really good.
And then Paul had been offered the job, right? Yeah, Paul had been offered the job at Stevenage, and he called me out of the blue and said, "Would you want to come along?" I think in that season, prior to me playing for Hertford, I played against Stevenage in the Eastern Floodlit, right?
Yeah,
and I scored 2. Yeah, I think I scored 2 or what? No, I think I scored 1. No, I scored 2. Sorry, got the penalty, right? And I, when Paul asked me, I just jumped at the chance. And the reason being, seriously, it was the best pitch I'd ever played on. And not only that, there was a really decent sized crowd. And that was when I was playing for Harlow against Stevenage, right? And luckily enough for us, fortunate, we beat Stevenage on the night. But I just thought the setup was fantastic. Do you know what I mean? And so Paul just said, "Look, would you want to come along, and be part of the squad?" And I said, "Yeah," just jumped at the chance. So, and that's how it all came about. He saw my brother play. My brother had played a couple of games for Stortford and said, come out and trial for us. And it was nice for me because I think both of us played in a friendly against Arsenal and Arsenal 11, which again was surreal because we were playing against Kevin Campbell, a young Kevin Campbell,
Yeah.
Perry Groves, right? Steve, I forgot his surname, the reserve team manager or the assistant manager at Arsenal now.
Steve
he used to
Bolt.
be the centre half. Steve Bold,
Yeah.
he played. And then funny enough, David O'Leary. And the surreal thing about it was that David O'Leary, about a month back, was playing for the Republic of Ireland in the World Cup, right? And they had gone through to the quarters. And then a month later, or 6 weeks later, he was playing at Stevenage and I was playing against him.
Oh, wow.
But it was, and it was really weird because at one point, me and my brother, I think we were both playing sweeper and centre half together. And it was a really nice thing to do. And my mum, bless her, has got a photo of us playing together as such on that day. So, but unfortunately, he didn't stay on. I think he got another offer from somewhere else. And then I just thought, great, this is it. The pitch, the groundsman and everyone around associated with the club were just fantastic. You know, you could see the club wanted to be out of the league, into the conference, into Football League, ASAP. And I wanted to be a part of that somehow, you know, and fortunately enough, I think I was. Do you know what I mean? I sort of contributed to a point. So,
and of course,
great.
There was plenty of promotions in your time at the club as well. Of course, going on and winning the Division 2 North, and then that's the Ishman League, and then the Ishman League Division 1 as well, and then the Hart Senior Cup in there, and then of course the conference, getting promoted up to the conference, and you were part of that team. Well, not part of that team as such, were you? But you were in and around it in the conference for the years as well. Yeah.
I was. It was really funny. It was a weird time because obviously there was the old guard from Stevenage, right?
Yeah.
That was still there, and Cluffy quite rightly invited them to come along and train, and then there was a new bunch of players who basically we were a complete new team for that first season. You know, we were completely new, and I was getting married that pre-season summer as well, right?
Oh, right.
And I think what Paul did, and I really appreciate, gave us an opportunity. What he managed to do, he got players who were the best players, I would say, in their own teams, right?
Yeah.
And he got them all together to become the Stevenage 11 for that season, right? And there was and the club had the actual facilities added to it. There was a hunger and desire for us to do well, right? Because the ground and the crowds and the fans pushed us to do that, right? And to a certain degree, certain players from the old guard as such left, right? Because Paul didn't think they fitted the plans that he wanted, but a couple did, like Noel Blackwell did, he did brilliantly there. I think Tony Martin was there at the time. And Robbie,
because I remember
O'Keefe, I think, might have been there for
and Robbie, of course, Robbie's still involved at the club. Robbie's obviously doing a bit of stuff with the reserves, and of course, Noel was, when I was starting to go, Noel was the assistant manager under Paul.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, he's. Do you know what? I didn't really get on with Noel. It was really the first season. I don't know. It was a bit of a love-hate relationship, and there was one point where he sort of pulled me out on a thing, and I really didn't like what he did. And right, but in a way, it turned my season around. And the guy came up to me before the game. He said, "Look, I just wanted to say," and I just said, "Look, forget about it." But we played this match again. I played out in the skin, and it was all done and dusted over. And then the following season, we played, when we did get promoted, we played together in the Division 1, and we made a partnership. I tell you, mate, I can't even hardly remember putting a team actually getting 2 goals past us, let alone 1, right? And we formed this great relationship between each other, right? And Noel's one of the nicest guys off the pitch, but he's got one of the most determined attitudes on the pitch that I've ever come across. Do you know what I mean? He would run through a brick wall if he needed to. He just kept it nice and simple. Great player, great leader as well. And like I say, at first I didn't get on with him, but after that issue as such, done really, really well. I think we respected each other a lot from that point of view. He was a really good player. And like I say, everyone else around it that gelled, we all gelled together. Even I say it, Mike, seriously, Cloughie, we did training as if it was a game. So when we went into a training, like a game mode, it was like a match.
Mm-hmm.
So God forbid if you didn't wear your shin pads, seriously, it was like full on. And but
kicked about a bit, and
Cloughie loved that.
Yeah.
Oh no, you didn't get kicked about, but they were proper tackles. Do you know what I mean? So, and that was the attitude we all had. You know, none of us wanted to lose, even in training games. We never wanted. None of us, whoever team we were in, we didn't want to lose, and we took that from the training pitch onto the football pitch as well. And Paul Peterson was there as well. He was brilliant. You know, sometimes it was like Cagney and Lacey, or Starsky and Hutch, whatever. If you remember them two police coppers, whatever. It was really good. You know, so and I think for a lot of us, when Cloughie, on match, he would do this track. He would actually go in, and he's already put on the boards, on the walls, where you're going to play, how you're going to set up, who's in the freak in the walls, who was attacking the corners, who's defending. Do you know what I mean? It was never like that when we went, played at other clubs. This was all pre-set up, and I think we was thinking we're going places. We want to really do well, and Paul used to set targets for us as well. So, for instance, in the next 5 games, 15 points. He'll say, I want 13.
Yeah.
And I want, or 11 or something like that, depending on who we were playing home or away like. And that, again, was an incentive for us to do well, to get on that and do it, it was good. It was really, really good. The attitude for everyone was brilliant. So, yeah.
And, of course, we spoke about the promotions there as well. And, you scored a couple of goals for the club as well, 4 goals in total, and the first of those was against Royston in the Southern Combinations Cup game, and I think all of your goals actually came in wins, if I remember correctly as well. I think we won every game that you scored in.
Right, we hardly lost, to tell you the truth, when we played. To be fair,
yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So, but I think the first season I was there, I played in midfield. All right,
yeah,
across the midfield line. And then the second season, I obviously played at the back a little bit more as a sweeper or centre half or whatever. But I used to just bomb on sort of thing. But we had so many goal scoring. I think we scored in the first season something about 120 odd goals, and we only conceded
because two of the ones I was looking at there were 2 7-0 wins. So I think there's a couple of 6-1s and things, and 7s and 6s and 5s in there. Yeah.
Yeah, we were just phenomenal at home. Like, I don't know whether we were that good or the other teams were that poor. It might have been a combination of the both as such. But we had some great play. Jimmy Sinclair, I think, was there. I think it was Jimmy Hughes. He was a phenomenal goal scorer. We obviously had. I was trying to think, like Tony Martin. I've actually got photographs. Do you want to? I don't know if you want to share the screen, but I may have. We had Sean Debenham, who was brilliant in centre midfield, right?
Yeah,
Just like a mini Hulk, he was. He was good. Dave Brown, he could score a few goals from there.
And of course, the main guy that was there was of course Martin Gittins as well.
Gitts, yeah. I previously come across Gitts at Harlow as well, and he's a real great guy. A great guy to have in the training room. Great guy to have in the right, because he was really a lot of like self-importance, but then you need that from a centre forward. He was a really good guy, and
he's got a phenomenal goal scoring record as well. I think he's got like almost 300 goals for the club. Yeah,
but he would stick his head in to score a goal where no one else would dare. Right? He just loved that sensation of doing it. I mean, I've played against him, and he's a tough old guy to play against as well. And he's deceivingly quick, right? He hits the ball with both feet, and he was a really, really good player to have in your team. But that's why, in a way, he was one of the top earners at the football club. Take that off.
That's all right. Yeah.
Let's put that on silent. Sorry, mate.
That's fine.
But the same with Giggs, right? If we had come off the pitch winning 3-0, 4-0, 5-0, or 2-0, whatever, and he hadn't scored, he'd come off the pitch as if he lost.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Because he hadn't scored. However, if we come away losing 4-1, and he had scored, he'll just, well, I've done my job. Do you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. It's not my fault we lost, whatever. So, but it wasn't any surprise that he went on to do big things with other clubs. I mean, he was at Wivenhoe that when they had a lot of money and had a lot of good players then, and you can see why they wanted him up there. He was, a great player. But there was loads of good players back then. Loads of good players.
And even in that side that won the promotion, from the conference as well, and obviously weren't allowed up due to the ground, there was Mark Smith in there, Sodgy, Stu Beaver. There was lots of real talent in there, yeah.
Yeah, Stuart Beaver. Don't forget, Stuart Beaver was only 18, 19 at the time, Yeah. And to be honest, right, I think he came through the ranks. I knew of him the season before, right? Mm-hmm. And to be fair, I was looking at him, and I hope he doesn't mind me saying, but I didn't think he was that good at the time. And then what a player he turned out just shows that. Mark Smith came over from hitching to us, and Cloughie saw something, and obviously put him in the back line. And he was like phenomenal. He was just so easy to, he just made things look so easy, And he was a forward, wasn't he? He was really, really good.
When he was brought in, he was a forward, yeah.
Yeah, I don't think he was that. Yeah, but I don't think he was. He weren't in the same class as, say, Martin. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. On that side of things, but at the back, he was. He read the game really well. Sodgy, right? It was really kind of weird because he played one reserve game, right, at the time. Noel Blackwell's manager, right? And Noel said to Paul, just put him in straight away. One reserve game, which I was a bit gutted because I was in sort of trying to get into the first team, right? Because I had when the first season they were in the conference, I was in the squad as such. But he sort of basically just, took it over. And to be fair, I'll always be grateful because every footballer wants to play at as highest level as possible. Right, and with the best players as possible. And Cloughie, I took a year out. Cloughie gave me that opportunity to be part of the conference squad. And I think I was involved in about 6 or 7 games, something like that, right? But I always appreciate it. But when you play and train with those those players at that level, right? Yeah. The difference between North, First, Premier, and Conference. It's just a massive steps all the way through, right? And, at the end of the day, I was fortunate enough to actually play and train with non-league England internationals. You know what I mean? So...
and, of course, Sodgy went on and he played at the World Cup.
I was really pleased with that. Sorts. He played at the World Cup, yeah.
Yeah.
But I just found like... I think he played at pro level, didn't he? Mm-hmm. At one point. And I think...
He played.
I think he got played at.
I think he played Premier. I'm sure he played Premier League.
Yeah, I'm not sure, but I thought he played with either Birmingham or something like that, right? But I just found like, he's just been found out because he sometimes got caught with a ball.
Yeah. And
there were players who were just as quick as him up front, right? There as he was, sort of thing. Sodgy could head the ball and he could tackle. Well, some of his tackles are a bit rash, to be honest, right? But his distribution was a bit not as good as his whatever, right? Or his pace. That is the aspect of the game that he needed to really work on. And I think the higher you go up, that becomes more and more important as part of your game as such. But they were all really good players, and I really appreciate the opportunity I had. I don't know what I had involved. I do know that the squads that I played in, right, the one thing that we all had in common was to win.
Yeah.
Right. And that's not being in a win at all costs. It was that desire. As soon as, we're all good blokes after the game. We all had a laugh. We would sort of, a lot of us sort of mixed with the fans, said hello and all this like. But as soon as we crossed over that white line, no matter who we play, right, we wanted to win.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that was the attitude we wanted to do. And Paul in a way was very quiet. I don't think I ever heard him scream or shout or anything at anyone as such. He'd just look at you disappointed if we didn't put in a good performance or whatever. But even saying about the days on match days, having the plans on where we were going to go and whatever, even training was like that. It was structured with Paul Peterson. He would structure the way he wanted us to train. He would get us into certain groups to do certain things, and it was really good. The worst thing about Paul Fairclough's training and Paul Peters was pre-season. It was a nightmare. It was so hard. Do you know what I mean? I felt sorry for anyone who didn't know what his training schedule was like, because it was murder.
I was just going to say that in regards to
he used to record our times.
Okay.
He used to record our times on the week one.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry.
No, I was just going to say in regards to pre-season, what was so challenging about it? Yeah, go
on. Log it. So he used to record it, right? And then you had to beat it the following session, and it was always progressive all the time. It was, and I think in a way, the players who were the fittest as such, just on pure fitness, they would be involved in the first pre-season match.
Oh wow!
And so that was the incentive. If you wanted to be involved in the first game, you had to be one of the fittest players to be in the squad. There was no mucking about, and that was the thing we used to have. And no matter if we'd won the league the season before, suddenly there'll be about 60 players turning up
for training and for pre-season.
Right. And he'll go through the pre-season training freely. And by the end of like week 4 or so, that 60 had gone down to a squad of maybe 25 players, something like that. You know what I mean? That had lasted. It was like doing going through the paratroopers.
Okay. Yeah.
But even the friendlies, at that level, Division 2 North or something like that, right? We played Arsenal, Norwich, we had QPR, West Ham, we played Chelsea, Cambridge United, we were playing pro league, pro clubs, and sometimes it'll be a mixture, it'll be their youth team, it'll be the reserves, but I remember we played West Ham United, right? They brought down their first team. Billy Bonds was manager, right?
Oh, wow.
We come off the pitch just losing, right? We come off the pitch just losing 1-0. I honestly felt we should have won. And I actually said, I said, this West Ham were going to get relegated, and they did. We played Norwich City, right? In a pre-season. Chris Sutton played,
Oh, wow.
Norwich.
And he went on and won the league with he went on and won the league with Blackburn. Yeah.
I think we lost 4-1. Right? It was a great open game. He had us, right? But he couldn't. But at the time, I didn't think he was going to make it because he couldn't play with his feet.
Yeah.
Right. But look, he goes on with the Rangers as well. Do you know what I mean? So, it's just brilliant opportunities. Martin Allen. I don't know if you remember Martin Allen of
Barnet,
of Barnet and loads of other clubs.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, West Ham came down with a youth side, and he must have been on the way out because he played with them, right? His attitude was first class. He encouraged the youth team players all the way through. I think we beat him like 7-2 or something like that, right? But he never stopped working, showing to be a real bright example for the youngsters around him, fair play to him. He was superb on that side. And they're all brilliant memories, played with. So, in all that, a couple of our players went on to become pro league players, Neil Treble, Richard Wilmot, obviously Barry Ailes, who I remember seeing playing at midfield, and I thought, God, he's no way. Can you play him in midfield? Left side of midfield, he just didn't seem to have a clue. And then Cloughie put him up front, and he was just phenomenal. I tell you, he was the
Banging
strongest
goals in
player
every
I've
game.
ever come across.
Yeah.
But his touch on the ball with his back to goal was just superb, and his strength for someone who's not particularly big, right, was phenomenal. You know, you just couldn't get off the ball, and he was a really, really nice bloke as well. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm sure he told me he was a trained carpenter prior to joining. You know, there were other players. You know, like you say, won the Hart Senior Cup. I remember Paul Boget as well. He played for a couple of seasons, right? And again, and this is the thing I think honestly between a pro league player and a non-league player, and it's different. Like again, we were saying about this attitude to win, right? If we'd lost, I'd get the right ump, right? Only with myself. I wouldn't, you know, with players or anything like that. I'd come home and I wouldn't really be happy and whatever. And yet comes the following morning, right? It'll be gone, right? Right. Paul he used to be a pro, okay, right? He would have the ump until we played the next game.
Oh, right? So it could even be like a week's time. Like, yeah.
No, it'd be like training. It'd be like training. Why?
A few days. Yeah.
Yeah, it'll be like that. You know, because we played Saturday, Wednesday, Saturday, Monday, Saturday, Tuesday, whatever. It was obviously like the next game was really, really quickly turned around, and that was right. They just couldn't see why would you, you know, let it go, and that was the attitude, right? I learned a lot of him about, you know, wanted to keep playing well and wanted to win because I think when he played for us, he was about 36, 37, something like that. And he was, you know, his time in it was really, really good on that side of things. So, I'm going on a bit, aren't I? Sorry, mate.
No, that's all right. It's all good. I was just going to have a look up at Paul Boget there and just see, have a little look into him a little bit.
Paul Boget?
Yeah.
Yeah. Worked for a brewery company, I think.
Oh, did he? Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, I think so.
So we've got obviously a little bit here in regards to you moved into managerial with the reserves as well, and you know what was that like to obviously you know manage the reserve side, and of course you went on and you done well with the reserves. You won a few trophies with the reserves as well.
Yeah, to be honest, I followed on from Noel Blackwell. I think I joined the squad obviously for the conference level, and I was playing for a lot of games. I went out on loan to Stortford. I think I played a few games. I played a lot of games for the reserves, and then I played probably about, I don't know, probably half a dozen or whatever. So in the first team or whatever. So there's a lot of youth team, a lot of good youngsters, and I was playing with Noel then, and Noel again, you know, he sort of placed in the mind of the youngsters that, you know, this is not a Sunday morning team. This is a club that took everything seriously, and you had to be serious with it all. So I was like the granddad of the team in a way for them lot, you know, on there. And there were some really good players, you know. I think there was Adam. I can't remember his surname at the moment. Oh, who went on to play for Hitchin for quite a while.
I'm not too sure. Yeah, Adam, I can't remember.
Right. He was a phenomenal player. He played first team in that season, you know, both feet, great. The only thing is sometimes his head went a little bit, right? But then I think as he got older, he obviously got better, and he was a great player for Stevenage from what I understand. Stuart Beaver came in and played a few times. And again, when he was playing for the first team and he came and played for the Resis, he just outshone everyone. He really did. You know, he was really, really good on that side. And, you know, and the football we played, the youngsters played, was phenomenal. And when obviously the opportunity came up to still be part of the club, I took it. You know, I'd done me UEFA C or at the time. And then I qualified it with my year A for B as well, right?
Right.
But it was really difficult. The reserves football is really difficult for any youngster or first team want to play in the first team. So they see that if they're playing in the reserves, the level of football isn't as good as such. Although we did play in the Capital League. I don't know if you remember that. Adam Parker, that's his name.
Okay, Adam Parker, right.
He was a phenomenal player. Yeah. So we played when I took over, we played in the Capital League. So we were playing against pro clubs as such. So it's like the under 21s, under 23s on that side of things. But at that point, we had a great group of youngsters. And to be fair, every single one of them youngsters would probably be able to play Isthmian League football. Definitely Division 2 or Division or Premier League, Division 1 or whatever. That's the standard they could easily play at. Conference level was a different level, right? And it was almost like Cloughie would then bring in trialists. We would have loads of trialists that had been released from pro clubs, and just to see if they were any good to play first team, right? And it's really difficult because you can never have a settled side in the reserves. Players coming in and out. So what Noel did was brilliant, and to a certain degree, what I tried to do is to try and get the players who were in reserve team players, team squad, right? But also accommodate the trialists and to cast a critical eye on them to see if they were going to be any good to play first team football,
Yeah.
And the decisions that Cloughie wanted were almost like they had to be good enough now, sort of thing. It wasn't a question of building them up, seeing if they could do it. It was like,
no, it's got to be
they had to be that good now.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it was quite cutthroat to a certain degree that at that level, reserve team football. So, but the youngsters, I think the majority of the youngsters that weren't able to play at the conference level went on to play with other clubs, one league below, which is phenomenal these days. It's so difficult because I always think no matter what the pros say, I think non-league football is one of the hardest level of football to play at, no matter, from the Essex senior to conference level. If you're part-time, i.e. you've got a job, trying to accommodate your job and play football is really, really difficult. And, it takes a lot out of you. So hence why I retired really early at non-league football, because I just had two youngsters, and working for myself as well, starting to work for myself. It's just too much, So, but no.
That's fair enough. And are you kind of able to keep across, things with the club? And of course, the club have gone on to good things and got the promotions and now an established league club.
Yeah, do you know what? I took a season off after the Division 1. We got promoted. I took a season off, right, because I wanted to spend a year with my daughter. I'm quite family orientated and things like that. And football, as much as I loved it, right, it took up a lot of time. Don't forget, we were playing Saturday, Tuesday, training Thursday, Saturday, Tuesday, plus the fact I was working in London, right, and it was it was just like
have much family time,
Yeah, and and this is what you got to. People got to think about. Not non-league players do this, right? And I just thought myself for the first year, right? It was our firstborn with my daughter. I just wanted to spend a bit of time, though I still worked in London, so I knew it was going to take up that bit of time. Something had to give, so I knocked that on the head as such at football. And then I went back to Cloughie a year later, saying, "Look, can I at least do pre-season?" To be honest, I wasn't expecting. I was just because I saw the level. There was Rudy. What's his name? Tall black guy.
Yeah, the midfielder.
Rudy.
Yeah, I know who you want about.
He was centre half. He played in Hong Kong.
Mm-hmm.
He played for Colchester United. He was there. There was a centre half from Barnet. I can't remember his name. He was there. The Premier League team that won it basically were there. So I was, in a way, I was fantastically overjoyed that Stevenage won the league and got promoted.
Yeah.
Right. But I was gutted I wasn't part of that squad. Do you know what I mean? And to be honest, I think people there were old players who'd won the league the Isthmian League Premier
Mm-hmm.
with that team, who were Dave Brown, Glenn, pretty well, right? All players that had won league, but they also, I think, they all also recognised that next level up was going to be a little bit, maybe a bridge too far for them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So,
and of course, when we won the league, we weren't allowed up because of the ground, were we? To get the promotion, and then we got the promotion. It was back in 2010, I think it was, under Wesley.
Yeah, that's it. And what you mean, the Conference League?
Yeah.
To be honest, right? Did we still have the porta cabins? We did, didn't we?
I think so.
That time. Yeah. So it was always going to be. I mean, the club tried to do in such a short space of time, because I don't know if you know, but the ruling is that your ground has to be ready for the Christmas in that season for it to be able to go up.
Right? Okay, I didn't know
of course,
the exact time of the year or whatever. No, yeah.
Yeah, it isn't at the end of the season that the club, it isn't at the end of the season with you've won the league, right, now look at your ground and do it.
So you've got like 3 or 4 months to sort it out in that league of you as well.
Where are you at Christmas? But Stevenage was, but I don't know if Stevenage were top of the league back then, but it wasn't clear whether there was a chasing pack. It wasn't clear we were going to win the league or not at that point. So I always thought to myself, how can you make a ruling based on a decision being made at Christmas? If you're top of the league, you could finish 4th. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then the team who's not ready, say we were in 4th place, could then win the league, but the ground's not ready. Do you know what I mean? It's a ridiculous decision for me. And to be honest, I've got my own opinions about the FA, but they're not very high. They're not very high of them. They're a body upon themselves. They just make it up as they go along, sort of thing. And I think the club did amazingly well to do what they did, raise public awareness and publicity and things like that. But it wasn't going to do it. It wasn't going to beat them, right? Mm-hmm. But what it did do, it highlighted the FA's inadequacy about their rulings. It's ridiculous.
And that was who was the chairman? Was that Victor? Was it Victor Green?
Yes. Yeah.
And of course, Victor, when it comes to the Newcastle, to be honest, right? When it comes to the Newcastle games, you can see that Victor was the kind of man that didn't want to stand down from anything. He was happy to, I think he knew that Kenny Dalglish and the representatives from Newcastle were going to come down, so he shut the door and wasn't allowing anybody through. Yeah.
Yeah. He was and that's the way it is. But I think to a certain degree, it's always the Newcastle game. I mean, I went up there and saw the return. I saw the home game, and I went up there and saw the replay as such, right?
Yeah.
There were things said that, to be honest, right, they were a little bit disrespectful for them as well.
100%.
I know it's and it's all psychological and things like that, and it's a little bit. It's like playing the publicity game. But I'm not in. I'm not into that. Newcastle came down. And whether we wound them up to try and be a bit more, do more. But sometimes it's best to leave a sleeping tiger, just to leave it quietly lethargic rather than stir it and sort of create that sort of atmosphere. So that's my opinion on it. But the club did fantastic. Trev scored that header with a free kick and everything. And I remember Gary Crawshaw as well. I remember playing against Gary Crawshaw, and I think he scored both times against us on it. An unbelievable engine on him. And he scored the goal at Newcastle, which was a great goal.
That's right. Yeah, it was a good finish as well. And of course, Grazioli scored the goal here. And
I thought it was Trebs. Who scored it here.
I think he had one disallowed, or he had one something like that. Yeah.
Right.
It was Grazioli, the one who went to Barnet eventually. Yeah.
Yeah. And he would, to be honest, he didn't look like a forward, did he? Really, he wasn't. I didn't really know Grazioli, but when you look at his physique, he didn't look like a goal scoring machine. When you looked at Gitz was built like really solid. Grazzi just glided through defenders, into gaps where you think, when did he turn up? You know what I mean? He had a really good instinct.
I think he only turned up a week before the game. He wasn't very much known around the Stevenage. I think he'd only played, might have even been one game beforehand, and then he was basically thrown into that Newcastle game.
Well, that just shows Cloughie's ability to recognise the potential in players. You know what I mean? And not only and he wasn't afraid to say to players, like I said about Mark Smith and things like that, or Barry Earls, you're no good in midfield, you're no good up front, we're going to put you here, we think you could do a better job here. And players used to think, what? Do you know what I mean? I used to think I was a midfield player, and he said, look, play at the back, and I did, and I enjoyed it there, so, I sort of played some of the best games around there and played along with some of the best centre halves as well on it.
And of course, the one sort of downside to that, I suppose, is the fact we didn't get into the league, and of course, Stevenage has gone on and they're now an established league club, and then well in League Two. I don't know how much you're following the club. I don't know if you're still able to follow the results and things like that.
Yeah, I do. I follow the results. My lad, it's like everything else. My lad, I sort of became a UEFA teacher. I coached at one of the development centres for Ipswich Town for a number of years. My lad went through being an academy player with Ipswich from the age of 11 up to 16. He then had a trial at Southampton, and he also at Stevenage, right? Okay. But unfortunately, he didn't make it at Stevenage. On his last couple of weeks, I think that they were due to make it. He got injured, right? And he sort of didn't make it. Mark Jones, do you remember Mark Jones? I think
the name rings.
He was his 16th manager.
Right.
And there was the academy coach, which was a former West Ham player, Paul something. I'm not sure. To be honest, I didn't really get on with Paul. Mark was all right. But, there was a couple of things that I didn't agree with. But, hey-ho, that's the way football goes. So obviously, I saw the new development, where you've got the local sort of five-a-side AstroTurf pitches. And the
clubhouse over at Sheffield Academy. Yeah.
That's it. Yeah. So over there a few years ago. Obviously followed the club all the time, winning a trophy and the leagues and everything. And obviously, look at their results. I haven't been over the ground for years, though, to be fair, to actually go and watch a game. Probably because I've been too busy seeing my son play at academy level and things like that. But it's interesting now, in a way that there's no fans playing. So do you think that helps the younger players playing in first-team football?
It's a tricky question, really. I know there's a lot of these younger players, there's quite a few in and around the Stevenage team that are on loan from higher division teams. There's one on loan from Chelsea, Jamie Cumming, Arthur Reed on loan from Brentford. So that these players are getting a first-team opportunity, which they weren't going to be getting at their respective senior or pro clubs, as you want to call it, sort of higher up the football pyramid. But I suppose it probably does help a lot of these younger players because they're able to play without pressure and
exactly
a bit more freedom. Yeah.
So when we do have fans, it'll be interesting to see how clubs perform. Even like there's some weird results that are happening. With the fans. I mean, it must be a bit of an eerie effect playing in an empty stadium, whereas before they had a massive crowd and whatever. So, I think it helps them because, like you mentioned, there's no pressure and they're used to playing at youth level, under 21s, 23 levels, whatever. There's hardly anyone that watches them. So they're used to that emptiness around it. So, I think it helps. It's like a normal level of football as such. And it must help the linesman because he can't get abuse anywhere.
I'm not too sure. I'm sure it will. He certainly gets his fair share from Dean Wilkins, according to the commentary team and the eye follow and stuff. Of course, Dean Wilkins is a big name around football as well. Ray Wilkins, his brother, and he's the man that's now assistant manager to Alex Ravel. And he certainly loves to give the officials a bit of stick, when shout his mouth where he can to kind of get him, his point across and get himself heard. Yeah.
Right. But it's weird when I look at. I mean, I remember when I was my lad was at Stevenage. I saw the first team back then play, and train, right, and even the physique of the first team compared to what I was playing with, players would play, completely different level. Mm-hmm. Do you know what I mean? You could tell the difference between a full-time player and a part-time player, in that sense. And they were all big guys, all very physically strong and things like that. Whereas I think most of us were normal type people playing football as such. Mm-hmm. So yeah. But I think, I'm glad that I played. I think I played over 150 odd games for the club. And like I say, it was great to play with. The fans were really good. I was lucky enough to win a couple of awards with them as well on a personal level. Yeah. So it was good. So, and it was nice to do. I think the first season when I was there, also, Cluffy put me through the training youth team coaching badge back then. And then I think we set up the old youth, and which Neil was in charge of. I think the community football as such.
Okay.
So it was nice to get a squad of. It was nice to get a squad of players and things like that. But do you know what, Mike? What really frustrates me, and I've been involved, and it happens everywhere I've gone as a youth team coach or a kid development centre coach for one of the pro clubs, right? Is that there are still football managers, and this is getting slowly but surely being gone away. But at the time, there were football managers who wouldn't release their best Sunday morning players who we thought would had a chance to be in, possibly moving on forward with a pro club. They wouldn't let them go because they had a Sunday morning game, a cup game.
See, I don't understand that at all. Like, if you want to, not hold anyone back from their development, you want to allow them to develop the best that they can, you have to allow that.
Yeah, that is a football manager, because I used to run a football side, a Sunday morning team, right? Yeah. And if any of the players that I got were selected to go and play for a pro club, I'd say go and do it, right? I said we'll always be here.
It's a once in a lifetime opportunity. It's an opportunity they might not get again.
Yeah, exactly. And I used to be like, go, because our Sunday morning team will still be here and we'll welcome you with open arms.
Yeah,
I always think like the thing for a football coach is to develop a player to be good enough to become a pro.
Surely, yeah.
All right, but seriously, mate, the amount of clubs and managers that I would come across and say, no, you can't have him. It was just ridiculous, absolutely ridiculous. It was, and it's not taking away the youth team players that we had, right? But it just stopped the opportunities for other clubs, for other players to have that opportunity. Play against the best of the best. And that's what you want to do, to see how you are against the best of the best, So, it was always good, that sense,
All right. And I think we're going to wrap it up. I'm just going to ask one more question, and that's in regards to, of course, you mentioned a little bit about the community side of things, and, through the COVID pandemic, the very beginning of that and all the way through, the club have been very, very, good going out and helping people and the vulnerable and people that are struggling. The club have been really good in going out and supporting people.
Yeah, and that is such an important element. At the end of the day, no matter how high you go up with in your industry, never forget the people who support you, and which is the fans. Through the turnstiles, no matter what you've got, if you can help someone, do it, and in a way, that's probably the best comeback you can get. It's just that appreciation, and people do appreciate, even sometimes when they don't say it, they do appreciate that you've made the effort to do that for them. And, and Stevenage has always done that. The clubs have always put themselves out for the fans. From what I've seen anyway, and definitely at the level we had, I remember we turned up at a presentation for one of the fans for his Sunday morning team.
Okay, right.
We were giving out awards and things like that for other people. So it's always nice to do that. And back in the days, I don't know whether they do it now or such, but back in the days when the game had finished, all the players and the fans would all be in the same bar, talking about the match and whatever, and all that. Fortunately, most of the time we won. So that really helped.
Didn't have many losses. And
that really helped.
Yeah,
exactly. So that really helped. But it was all really, really good, and that's the important element. The club needs to keep doing that as well, But like everything else, I think the club always does things the right way in the sense that I think so. It makes sure that it's got money in the bank before it can progress. Whereas a lot of clubs have forked out a lot of money without having it there, and then suffered for it.
Obviously, Phil's now in charge as chairman. He took over from Victor Green, Phil Wallace, and he's very, very good. He's very shrewd at what he does. There's a lot of players that have been sold for big money, big fees, and then that's been put back into the playing squad again. Yeah.
Well, he's a businessman, and he knows this. He knows the value of money. At the end of the day, you can buy success, right? But it's limited. It already go. You can buy it maybe for a season or two. We know that at non-league club levels, where suddenly you get a phenomenal team like Billy Ricky or something like that, right? And suddenly they go bust. Or the man, it all goes to pot. And so,
there's so many. Exactly. If you look down the league as well now, if you look at, I don't know, say you look at the conference, for example, Barnet as second bottom in the conference, Notts County, of course, everyone knows Notts County has been a big old Division 1 team, and they're conference now, and there's lots of teams there that are struggling. I don't know whether they've got into administration and dropped down, or they've just, I'm not too sure what it is with a lot of these clubs, but you can see, even from the Premier League, a lot of these clubs are dropping down into the lower ends of the Football League now, like League 1 and League 2. Yeah, like Portsmouth, for example, Ipswich.
Yeah. I just, to be honest, I don't know how clubs survive in certain aspects. You got these when you watch on TV some of the Championship teams, right? And then you watch the game, and then they pan out to the behind the goal, and there's no one there.
Yeah, that's it.
And you're thinking they're like 20,000, 25,000 seats as stadiums, and there's like half or 18,000, so there's 7,500 empty, and you're thinking, how do you survive on that? And there are certain players playing in that championship who are earning some big money as well.
Yeah, definitely.
So I just don't understand where they're getting the money from. But fair play to Stevenage and to the league, to be honest, to keep going on it. There's going to be some certain decisions made, and I think coming out of COVID can't come quick enough for clubs as such on that side of things. There was talk about regionalising it, weren't they, at one point? Getting the old back in the old days.
I don't think that will happen. I'm pretty sure it won't happen because the Football League is just so. It wouldn't ever get to that level. I don't think. I think the Football League want to keep it as open as possible to everybody to be involved.
Yeah, but sometimes if you cut back on teams, it might save a club that money and whatever, and it's difficult on it. So but I love Stevenage got to, I think, was it Division 1, weren't they? Or League 1 as such at one point, which was
under Wesley, and
at that point
they got to the playoffs.
Yeah. So it's phenomenal. I mean, I bet the club couldn't believe it at one point. They were in that area, But now, bless him, Graham, and I don't know him personally, right? But he's had all that success, right? And now he's trying to get. He's gone to other clubs because he went to Preston, I think, didn't he? I think.
Yeah, he went to Preston. He went to Peterborough. He's been to a couple of other clubs around. Yeah.
And the formula that I'm assuming most managers take the same formula that they take with them that got them success, hasn't been reciprocated at those other clubs. And is that down to the players or is it down to him? Have things moved on, whatever? But he's not getting as much success. So it's weird football, it's kind of weird. So
all right, well, I think we're going to actually wrap it up there, and of course, just hopefully you're keeping well and staying safe and everything as well. Of course, as I mentioned before, we're able to do a little bit more as of Monday, so looking forward to in the near future when we're able to get to games again and be like something that's been missing for so long. It'd be great to be back in the grounds, and it'll just be completely different. It'll be the first game back. You can just imagine the atmosphere for the first game back. It's going to be something else.
Yeah, hopefully, and the club's doing really well. It's on a great little run, to be honest. Looking at the results, I'm just hoping that the fans will push them on for that, and they play better with fans without them what they're currently are doing. And if they can do that, that'd be amazing. So they're edging their way up for the league, and who knows for next season? Really, it'd be great. But thanks, Mike, for giving us the opportunity for this interview. It's great to catch up with some old times and old days, and you've sort of poked an old man's memory on those football things on that.
And that's good. It's great to hear. Good. It's great to hear different people's opinions. Whether they played at the club, whether it was the start of the 90s or even before that, or to more recent times. It's good to kind of get a broad knowledge of players that have played across different eras of the club's history. Yeah.
Yeah, and I always say the club wouldn't be. I always think the club wouldn't be where it is now if it wasn't for players like myself and the old brigade back in the old days. When we had changing rooms in the porter cabins. You know what I mean? So that's how far the club has moved on. From then days in such a phenomenal short space of time as well. So
and of course it's. Not just on the pitch, it's off the pitch. It's done so much great work off the pitch, not just with the community as well, but the stadium is now completely different. They're able to get really good, lucrative sponsorship deals and bring the women's game involved a lot more now as well. So it's great for the club to involve, the women as well. And
the most important thing, it's still at the same place.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And that's the most important thing from my point of view. It's still at the same location, still the same pitch as such.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what I mean? So it's brilliant. For us, veteran players, it's still nice that when we go past the ground, we can say, "Oh, look, that's where we played." Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely, that's great
nice,
as well.
It's a nice feeling.
I'm sure you go past there and a couple of times, and you're able to tell people, I played there, and they're now a football league club, and been an established football league club for the last 10, 11 years now. Yeah.
Yeah. And we used to get pre-season was get changed in the football ground, go across the dual carriageways, right, onto the field where the car park is as such, run at the other end of the field, and then do all their pre-season down that end.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. That's an interesting something to take away as well. Yeah.
That was back in the old days. Yeah. So, we used to do like a 6-7 minute jog as such before we even started the pre-season.
Oh, wow. And you're going out and you're playing a game as well. Yeah.
Yeah. So,
But what I was going to ask, I was actually going to ask one question earlier on, which I didn't get round to. And we'll round it out with that, in fact. And of course, you mentioned that the club played a lot of different derbies in that time. And Hitchin was one of your first games as well, wasn't it, for the football club? And what were those what were those derby games like? Were they to be involved in? Because I've seen them from
quite intense
pre-season perspective, but not competitively. Yeah,
I think the first game the club played was the Hart Senior Cup game against Hitchin. I think we lost 3-1.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
at Hitchin.
Mm.
Yeah, so I remember that one, and then I remember. I think Hitchin were in Division 1 then. They weren't in Division 2 in our first season. So we played them when we went in Division 1. We played them twice, right? Yeah. I think we beat them at home, but we played them away. And I think away we got a draw, I think, right? Mm-hmm. And we could have snatched it at the end. And I tell you, the atmosphere was brilliant at both games. You know what I mean? And it was a proper football match. I remember the game at home. I had a tassel with a centre forward then. Literally, he was almost through, and I had to grab his shirt, near enough ripped his shirt, and the ref didn't even give it. I couldn't believe it. From scoring, and we won 1-0. I think Nigel, and then on the away game, I think we were 1-0 up, and it was 1-1, and it was end to end.
Yeah.
And I just remember at one point, and it was sort of Christmas time, and we were, I think me, Noel, and a couple of different, we were throwing bodies we were throwing ourselves at the ball to stop them from scoring. And I think at the very end, I can't remember his name, bless him, we could have snatched it. But again, it was a great atmosphere, really, really good. Do you know what I mean? St Albans, I can never get the better of St Albans. Played it, I think we beat them in the Heart Senior Trophy, and that was with a reserve side. I remember playing for a reserve side, and we beat them 3-2 at the time. But when I played for Series first time, we could never get the better of them. Right? It was just so annoying. But they were a really good side then. I used to hate playing on their pitch though, because it was like a hill. Do you know what I mean? It was like, right. So I could never get the best out of that one. Royston always beat as such. Trying to think who else really is a local derby. Barnet again, never really got better of them. I remember we played Barnet in the Heart Senior. I think Brian Steen played at the time.
Okay, Brian Steen, the one who went on and played for Luton. Yeah. And Chelsea as well. Yeah.
Yeah, I think, is his brother? He had a brother,
Mark,
didn't he?
Yeah, Mark, yeah.
Yeah, one of the two played up for Barnet. And there was a guy called Tony, who was the winger who played for Stevenage, right? Okay. And I was, at that time, I used to play centre-half, right? Mm. And then we played them in the Heart Senior Trophy or whatever, Cup, and we're playing at home. And Cluffy put me out on the fullback. And I thought to myself, why are you playing me fullback? He said, right? And then I realised that Tony played for Stevenage later on, right? The first time he got the ball, I've never seen something so quick, right? And I remember Richard Wilmot goes, that's why you're playing fullback, because you can just run as quick as him. And I was like, yeah, I was like, yeah, like that. But Mark, I think it was Mark Steen who played up front against us, right? I think he only had twice the ball in the penalty box and twice he scored. That was the difference. Whereas every time you go up a level, the quality just got better inside both either boxes. So if you were a forward, you only had to get half a chance and you would put it away. Yeah. Right? Whereas if you were a defender, if you made a mistake, you would get punished for it. Yeah. Uh-huh. And that's what it was all the time, playing against those sort of players. So Barnet was all right. Never had a chance to play Watford. Don't think Watford ever played us as such on that side of things.
And like Luton and things like that, Cambridge, yeah.
Yeah. And I remember one thing, I'll tell you a little short story, a little funny one, right? Saying about earlier try lists, right? Yeah. I don't know if you've got it on your record, but we had Daley Thompson.
Okay, yeah, I remember.
Yeah, right. He came down to had a trial, right? Do you know what? I always tell people I beat Daley Thompson in a race. And I'll bet you couldn't believe it, because at the time we used to train with mobile floodlights across the pitch. So we used to get changed to the training rooms, right? And it was already dark by 4 o'clock or whatever. Yeah. Go across the road. Cluffy and some of us would have set up these mobile floodlights, which were on big pylons, and we would then set them up in a square grid, right? Yeah. And we would train on those in that area. The lights was awful, and it was raining and all that, right? And I'll never forget Daley Thompson coming along, right? And I think one of the players goes, "Oh, how did you find it?" He goes, "I've never heard so many players swear during a training session." So,
but that's great. I'm sure you should just. You've got to send him a message. Try and see if you can hook up with him somewhere. Send him a message on social media. Be like, "Oh, remember me? I beat you in pre-season training at Stevenage."
In the training run, yeah.
Yeah.
In the training run, we had some sprints. We beat you, yeah. So. But he weren't a bad player. He weren't brilliant, but he weren't. But he weren't. I don't think he was going to make it. Put it that way. So,
and of course, you mentioned Reece Wilmot as well. Reece Wilmot's son Ben played for the club, and he's gone on and he's now playing for
it's
Watford.
Richard Wilmot.
Sorry, Richard Wilmot. Yeah, Richard Wilmot. So Ben, his son, is playing.
I didn't realise that.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's mental. That is. I bet he's never. So is he a goalkeeper as well?
No, he's a centre back.
I bet he what. Oh, right. I was going to say it'd be never. It won't be it. Richard Wilmot was probably one of the nicest guys I've ever come across. One of the nicest goalkeepers I've ever come across, and he. And most important from my point of view, he was quite sane. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Normally, I played with goalkeepers who were a little bit mad. You know what I mean? In that sense, because they put their head, and all that. But he was a really good guy, Richard. Really.
Yeah, his son Ben is only young as well. He's playing. He played at Swansea. He played at Watford. He's playing. I think he's playing at Watford at the moment. Yeah.
Wow.
But yeah, Richard Wilmot. Yeah. It's his son. He was sold for. I think his son was sold for about $1 million just a few seasons back. Yeah.
Wow. That's brilliant.
So he's gone on his doing well for himself as well. And he's involved in England. He's under 21s at England as well. Yeah.
Oh wow. Who was this is such a small world, right? Who was Stevenage most period?
Say that again. I've just lost connection with you.
Who's played the most times for Stevenage? Isn't it?
Ronnie Henry. Yeah.
Right. His dad's Ron Henry as well, isn't it?
That's it. The old Tottenham.
His dad is Ron Henry.
Yeah. Granddad.
Right. How's his? Right. Granddad, is it? Right. Short world. Small world. When I was a kid at 14, 15, I went down to Tottenham, right, for a 6-week period of time. Ron Henry was the youth team manager.
Oh wow, that's brilliant. Okay. And that was.
Do you know what I mean? So there's a weird connection there, isn't it?
Yeah, it's Ronnie's granddad.
Yeah. I was there when he was the youth team manager or the under-16s manager back then, as such, on that side of things. So it's a funny.
That's great.
It's a small world, funny world. Yeah, it's amazing our football. And do you remember Gary Roberts?
Briefly, yeah.
I'm not sure if he's still manager of Cambridge City, right? But I played against him when I was at Stalford in the FA Cup when he was at Brentford, right? And he was a Welsh under-23s international and things like that, right? So I played against him. A few seasons later, he's playing at Stevenage, and I'm playing with him, sort of thing.
Yeah, that's crazy as well. That's great. I'm not too sure if he is at Cambridge, as you say, Cambridge City, but that's another really good story. Yeah, you've got plenty of stories to tell.
It's really kind of strange how football, you sort of bump into people, all right, that you've either played with or against, and that's one of the brilliant reasons why you should try and take up any type of sport, right? Because even from a youngster's point of view, right, you will play with and against people that you will know throughout your whole life, right? And that's the best thing about it, right? Once you've made that connection on a football pitch, people don't forget you. You will know them, they will know you, even if they don't know your name. You will always say hello to them. Do you know what I mean? Because you've seen them, and that's natural. And the more you do that, the better it'll be for everyone in that sense. You never know when you might need a favour. They turn out to be an electrician, or you become a plumber or something like that, and then you'll get through work, networking, and things like that. And football's an icebreaker. Do you know what I mean? It's a brilliant icebreaker on that sort of thing. So it's fantastic. And like I say, I always tell my son a bit of little stories. There's things like Tony Cotty. I played against him as a youth team player when he was a Sunday morning player.
Okay, and he was very good at West Ham and stuff, wasn't he, as well?
Yeah, but he was about 4'3". He wouldn't make it these days. You know what I mean? But now everyone will look at him saying he's too small. Yeah. Who was the Spurs player? Paul. He was at Charlton, then he played for Spurs for a long time. He did. He played for England as well. I can't remember his name now, but he's the same age. I played against him at Charlton. At Charlton Stadium, the Valley back then. He scored like, I think we lost 6-2 and he scored 4. Couldn't even get near him.
Wow.
You know what I mean? He was phenomenal. He was a phenomenal player. You just play against players that I was fortunate enough to play against. Really, I was lucky enough to do. I remember old Dennis, who used to play for Chelsea and Wimbledon.
Oh, Wise. Yeah.
It's Wise. I remember Chelsea came down for a friendly, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sort of I think I took over the reserve team manager then, as such, and I'm in the sort of in the stadium like that. And he's come out and he's sort of he looks sort of bumped me into and he went, "Hello, Migsy, how are you?" And I'm thinking, well, I don't know you, but I'm all right, Dennis. Thanks very much.
Yeah.
And it's just like, it's just nice things like that, And like I say, if I could encourage anyone, right, one, football coaches, if you've got a youngster who's good enough to be who you think can move on, encourage them to do that, right?
Yeah.
With your blessings, right?
Yeah.
And kids, right? Both boys or girls, right? Go and play at the highest possible level that you can, right? Because you'll play against players that you who are probably a little bit better than you, but you will learn so much from them, right? And never ever give up on things. Do you know what I mean? Do the best you can, and that's all I try and do throughout everything on that. So,
all right, that's been a great chat there. Lots of great stories, and I'm sure you enjoyed reminiscing over your time at the football club as well. There.
Yeah, I did. Thank you very, very much. Thanks very much.
That's all right.
You take care, and everyone else, be safe and be healthy. Thank you.
Cheers. You too. Take care.
Cheers, mate. Thank you.